Well, folks, we are in the home stretch of waiting for Apple Silicon to arrive. Literally just weeks to go, and if you're like me, then you're probably very excited. But the anticipation has me wondering, what if the best Apple Silicon laptop is already here? I think I'd be speaking for a lot of us when I say that we are really excited to see what the first Apple Silicon Macs have to offer. Even if you're not planning on buying one of these, they're too expensive, you're not interested in being an early adopter, or you're just kind of waiting on the sidelines to see how it shakes out, you can't deny that regardless of where you're coming from, this is going to be exciting to witness. As of right now, we're expecting to see 2 Apple Silicon MacBooks unveiled at the as yet unconfirmed November Apple event. Apparently, those are expected to be a 12-inch MacBook and a 13-inch MacBook Pro. Now, as I've said in previous videos, I want to stress that this is not going to be A, an overnight transition, and B, an overnight transformation of what the Mac actually is. In fact, most of the information that we've seen so far points to a pretty minor design change compared to the Macs that we already have. The MacBook Pro, for example, is rumored to be completely unchanged, so it's possible that it will even retain the exact same bezels that we've seen since 2016. The 12-inch MacBook, on the other hand, we don't really know a lot about, so it's possible that there could be a significant design change, but from what we've heard, it should look very similar to the old discontinued 12-inch Retina MacBook. Now, that was kind of disappointing to a number of people. When I made my video talking about a reality check for Apple Silicon, a lot of people were not too happy with me in the comments, and they were like, Luke, you've been saying that this is going to be amazing, and now you're saying that it's not going to be amazing? Well, first of all, we need to qualify what counts as amazing, because when it comes to Apple, there is rarely, at least anymore, a single product that completely changes everything. Now, that might be disappointing to some, but when you're talking about a company as large as Apple, it does make sense. They're not in the business of experimenting with wild and crazy products, except for AirPower, but that didn't work. And so, as it pertains to the first batch of Apple Silicon, I think a lot of people sort of let their expectations get away from the reality of the situation. So yes, this is a major transition, and over time, it will completely reshape the way we think about the Mac, but that's not gonna happen at one event. Even if you go back in time, that's not how Apple has operated, especially with the Mac. When Apple transitioned to Intel, they did their entire batch of products in 1 year and didn't redesign any of them. So don't be going in the comments saying, ooh, I missed the old Apple, Steve Jobs wouldn't have done this. That's exactly what Steve Jobs did. What you should expect from this first go of Apple Silicon Macs is a surprisingly powerful chipset. That's something that I'm comfortable saying without any external information. Apple's processors for the past, especially the past 3 years, have been off the charts. The A14 Bionic is insanely fast, unnecessarily fast. And the A12X and Z are, well, for one, 2 generations old. They're from 2018, basically. And they are insanely powerful, especially given their TDP and their use case. The upshot is that these chips are going to be surprisingly powerful for the laptops they're expected to appear in, and they should allow for some truly remarkable battery life. So the first batch of Apple Silicon looks like it'll be impressive from a technical standpoint, but not necessarily revolutionary in terms of feature set. And so in my last video about Apple Silicon, I wanted to kind of give a reality check. But now I want to talk about a different perspective. So as of right now, a lot of people are waiting for Apple Silicon to come along and change everything. They're hoping for a Mac with Face ID, a Mac with a touchscreen, maybe a high refresh rate ProMotion display, a powerful chip that doesn't require any cooling. Heck, what if Apple made a 2-in-1, right? Wouldn't that be cool? Well, they do. They make that already. It's called the iPad. For the past 2 weeks, I've immersed myself in the iPad lifestyle. I've been using the new iPad Air as well as a refurbished iPad Pro 2018 provided by Decluttr. I also grabbed the rather pricey Magic Keyboard to accompany them, and I gotta say, folks, I get it now. It all makes sense. I passed on the 2018 and 2020 iPad Pro because, quite frankly, I hadn't had the best experience with iPads in the past. I had the original iPad mini when it came out back in 2012, and it was basically like a big iPod Touch. And then in 2015, I had the 9.7-inch iPad Pro, which I sold after 2 years because, quite frankly, it didn't seem worth it. It didn't seem useful for that kind of money. But now, with this generation of iPad, plus iPad OS, plus Magic Keyboard, plus trackpad support, holy moly, a lot has changed. This feels like iPad Endgame. This is what it's all about. Take the iPad Pro, for example. You can get a refurbished model like mine from Decluttr for about $600, add a keyboard for $300, and you're all in at $900. That saves you $100 over a base model MacBook Air, and I feel like this package is just so useful. So many of the features we want to see on Macs are already here. ProMotion, touchscreen, Face ID, better webcams. Heck, one of the features of Apple Silicon is running iPad apps natively. Well, hello? It's already an iPad. I love that you can be typing up a document and then just pop off the screen, switch over, and have a newspaper in like 5 seconds. Apple has this stupid marketing tactic for the iPad Pro. They say, your next computer is not a computer. That's dumb. This is dumb. The iPad Pro is certainly a computer, and a darn good one. There's a huge market out there from people who don't necessarily need a powerful computer. They don't need an 8-core i9 and dedicated graphics, so those people oftentimes end up buying Chromebooks or a Surface Laptop Go. But I think the iPad is so much more intuitive and useful than a Chromebook or a cheap Windows laptop. iPad might not be for everyone. Heck, I certainly couldn't only use an iPad because I live on Mac OS and I need Final Cut Pro to make my business, which you're watching, possible. But for some use cases, it might actually be the other way around. If you're a graphic designer or an artist, you might only be able to use an iPad because of the Apple Pencil support and the touchscreen. And look, I'm not trying to delude anyone into thinking that an iPad is a replacement for a MacBook, period. That's not going to be true for a lot of people. But quite frankly, I know plenty of individuals who use like a $1,300 MacBook when in reality they probably could get away with the base $329 iPad. So with Apple Silicon right around the corner, there's plenty of reasons to be excited. If you are interested in tech, you should be excited just for the wheels of change to spin, just to see what Apple's idea for the future of the Mac looks like. Even if you're watching from the sidelines and have no intention of participating, it's still exciting to watch. But if you're actually looking at one of these new Macs, maybe you don't have to. iPads are already here, and let me tell you, they are fantastic. I was actually using the 2020 MacBook Air for quite a while, but I actually sold it last week because ever since I got the iPad Pro, I literally haven't touched it. So ask yourself if you would be able to use iPad OS. What would be better? What would be worse? Is an iPad a primary device for you, or is it more of an accessory? I'm not going to try to convince you that you need to switch from a Mac to an iPad. I'm certainly not going to do that. The goal for this video is to provoke thought, not tell you what to think. So to answer the original question of this video, is the best Apple Silicon Mac already here? Well, it very well might be. But if you want to find out for sure, you're probably going to want to watch my coverage of the Apple Silicon announcement. So we shouldn't have to wait super long to find out, and I encourage you to get subscribed here on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you're notified of all of my uploads, and why not go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Luke Miani. I'll be able to keep you up to date much more frequently there. And while you're at it clicking links, you might as well check out my Twitch channel and my subreddit, both of which you'll find linked in the description below. So with that, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.